All right, thank you so much for joining us. And of course, we'll be moving right about now to our guest segment, where we'll be talking about several issues from politics, also to monetary policies, especially by the CBN governor. But of course, we still have joining us right about now is Mr. Matthew Oluko, who is a public affairs analyst, who will be sharing his perspective with us on the matter we'll be looking at now, which is the PDP crisis. Ayu steps aside, party names Umar Damagum. Now, what's your view as regards the move, by the national chairman, Iyorchia Ayu, taking, a process to be able to restore his mandate as the chairman of the party?
Okay. Once again, thank you for having me. I think stepping aside is he's trying to act in compliance with the court ruling that asks him to stop parading himself as the national chairman of the party. Having said that, I think what is happening in Nigeria is quite unfortunate. We have a situation where, because if you look at the issues that necessitated his suspension, it may not be unconnected with the governor of his state, who have been dragged to disciplinary committee at the national level of their party. And you begin to ask, was it coincidence that almost the same time the governor of his state is dragged to disciplinary committee at the national level, this suspension is coming to him from his ward level and in the same state, because he's from the same state with the governor. So what I'm trying to say in essence is the governors are too powerful in Nigerian political system. Because we have a situation where in Nigeria, it's not happening, it's not starting today. This issue of the governors fighting national chairman if they are from the same state and they have differences, it's not starting today. We can even give an instance of what transpired in Edo State, when an Obaseki and the former chairman of APC, Adams Oshiomhole, have issues, how Oshiomhole was suspended from his own ward, and the issue even went to, I think, Court of Appeal, and he was equally asked to stop parading himself as the party, or the chairman of the party. The same strategy was used to remove Uche Secondus, the former chairman of PDP. So what I'm trying to say in essence is, the governors seem to be too powerful. You have a situation where in Nigeria political system, the governor is the king and the kingmaker. And the power they say corrupt, and absolute power corrupt absolutely. I'm not saying if somebody is suspended by the executive of his ward, that the suspension should not stand. But I'm looking at the underlying factors. What may have prompted it is what I'm trying to look at. Because if you continue in this manner, you may see a situation where if you have an individual that is powerful more than the institutions of government, and perhaps is not comfortable with the political happenings in his political party or his jurisdiction, he may use his influence to start altering the party structure, which is not healthy for democracy.
Now, we have issues, that we're going to discuss about that has to do with he being accused of not paying his dues as a party chairman, and of course, anti-party activities that he was found, engaged in. But of course, our guest here before he left spoke about some issues which I would also like you to react to, when he talked about the fact that it was as a result of, the chairman's involvement in anti-parties activity that led to the G5 governors going about to do other activities that is against the party. How would you also just oppose that?
To be quite honest with you, I think I heard a part of what I think it's a Paul Agbojavi.
Yeah.
So I think if you look at what he said about the PDP candidate in that election, it was not the PDP candidate that made the promise that Ayu will resign after perhaps a candidate emerged from the north. I think it was Ayu himself that made that promise that if actually a candidate emerged from the north, the candidate of the party emerged from the north, he's going to resign his position. so that it can come to the south. But having said that, you see, it is, I think what PDP was trying to avoid was a crisis that could have erupted as a result of our users stepping down before the election. But again, I think for me, it would have been of a better interest for Ayu to resign from that position before the election. Because if you look at the damage his stay put caused the party, I think is one of the reasons
so
they lost that election.
What are those damages?
You had a situation where, like you pointed out,
yeah,
the G5 came out to say we cannot work for the candidate of our party except Ayu step down for a certain person to emerge. But again, if you look at the position of the constitution of PDP, if Ayu is to step down, even as at that time, the constitution of PDP do not permit a southerner to step into his shoe. Because if you look at this current Umar, who is stepping in, he is the vice chairman of PDP from North. They equally have a vice chairman from the South. So it is upon the vice chairman from the North declining to accept that position that perhaps it can pave way for a certain person to emerge if that had been the if Ayu had stepped down before the election. But again, I think if they wanted to achieve that, they could have been able to achieve it by perhaps the candidate of the party who I believe may have some level of moral authority over all the ESCOs at the national level. So if Ayu had resigned and perhaps Umar is the less person according to their constitution to step in, I think based on understanding, the candidate of their party may have some, like I'd say, moral authority to persuade perhaps Umar not to step in and decline to pave way for a certain candidate. But having said that, to further buttress my point about the damage the stay put of Ayu caused the PDP, you look at the performance of PDP in the states where you have the G5 governors. You look at Oyo, look at Enugu, look at Abia, look at Benue, and look at Rivers. What is their performance in these states? In Rivers State, PDP lost the election. In Benue State, PDP lost. In Enugu, they won. Sorry, they lost. In Abia, they lost. In Oyo, they lost. So I'm not saying they may have recorded 100% in those states. But if they were to resolve that crisis and perhaps Ayu resigned before the election, I think if not getting up to 100%, they would have been able to get, say, 45% from each and every one of those 5 states. Because if you take a look at, what's it called, these other states, Osun, where you have a PDP governor who did not have issues with the party at the national level or the candidate of the party, saw the outing of PDP in Osun State. They were able to measure well. So for me, I think it would have been of a better interest to PDP if Ayu have resigned before that election.
Okay, so now let's look at Wike. Wike also was found during the election to be involved in anti-party activities. Why hasn't he, according to speculations, why hasn't he not been suspended by now?
Let me quickly dispel your first assertion. What you say is an allegation.
That's what I just
I don't think it has been proven. Bible said that I think the major reason he was not suspended, including even the governor of Benue State and all that, because they rushed to court to secure a court order restraining PDP from suspending them. Otherwise, I think PDP made move to suspend them, having seen that they were not ready to work for the candidate of the party, even at the nick of time.
All right, now let's look at his move now. I mean, the former chairman of the party taking a move now to the court. Do you see any likelihood of he being, restored back as the chairman of the party? Do you see any possibility?
I see a possibility.
Why do you say so?
Because if you look at the origin or the underlying factor that may have necessitated his suspension, if actually the governor of his state is the brain behind it. In the just concluded governorship election, the PDP did not win, though the governor was not seeking a second term, but PDP candidate did not win in that election. So to that extent, I think the influence of the governor will reduce drastically when he hand over on the 29th of May this year. So if that happens, I think the PDP or the SY or the suspended PDP national chairman may have more power or influence to exert on his ward, ESCO, so that they could reverse the suspension. Don't forget that even the chairman have even said that most people that signed the suspension letter was coerced, was forced, they did it under duress. That I cannot verify the veracity, but those are his claim. What I'm trying to say in essence is, if the governor is actually the brain behind it, and in this office he doesn't have someone, his party did not win the election, I think his influence would have reduced. Though I can agree with you that he's working in synergy with the governor of Rivers State, who is the leader of that G5, and as it stands today, PDP candidate won the gubernatorial election in Rivers State. But I don't think he will have that overriding influence all the way from Rivers State to Benue State. But I can understand even the governor, the Rivers State governor has said that he will fight Ayu until he hand over on May 29. It goes to show that even the Rivers State governor is aware that if he leaves office, his power reduces. Because you see, all these governors, if they make any speech, they have the press crew at their beck and call. They have so much influence and power. But if you are no longer the governor of a state, you needed to push your opinion to the press. You call for a press conference and it comes with a cost. So it's not the same ball game when you leave office.
All right, now let's look at with the fact that you've just said, enumerated, the power, a governor could have, especially in his ward schools, to remove, the chairman of a party. Do you see that playing out in subsequent time from now, especially with regards to the new chairman that has just been installed?
Until we have a sanitized system, the same thing goes on and on. I've said it here. I say whether in APC, PDP, Labour Party have not gone.
PDP.
No, I say Labour Party is not yet too relevant for us to start doing appraisal of the activities. Okay. But look at the two major political parties, PDP and APC. If you're a governor of a state, you double as a governor and the leader of that state, of that party. If you are the president, you double as the president and leader of the party in the country. For me, like I said earlier on, if you give someone excessive power they say corrupt, and absolute power corrupt absolutely. So in a safe society, you differentiate the king from the kingmaker, such that if the king is going astray, the kingmakers are going to order. But if you double as the king and the kingmaker at the same time, you can operate with impunity. And that's what we are seeing in our system.
So what could be done in this case now, in such a way of restraining so much of the power that a governor has? Is it as a party, in the party level, or in a constitution?
I think constitutional provision can aid and guide the party in addressing their own constitution. Because if you have a constitutional provision of, the Constitution of Federal Republic of Nigeria that says, if any political party, if you're a governor of a political party, you cannot be a leader of that political party, whether at the state level, at the national level, or even at the local government level. So if the parties are now reviewing their own constitution, they will review it to be in tandem with what is contained in the Nigerian constitution. So both at the level of Nigerian constitution and at the level of party constitution, I think there's a need to review those constitutional provisions that will separate the office of the governor, the office of Mr. President, from leadership of their party.
Now, let's talk more on the crisis in the PDP. Ayu now is saying that only the PDP NEC can suspend him. What's your view on that?
It is not about my view, and it's not about the opinion of Ayu. As it stands today, there's a court of competent jurisdiction that have said stop parading yourself as PDP national chairman. He has done well because he's already complying with that order. Because one thing we have noticed with Nigerian politicians over time is that they operate with impunity. You find out a situation where court will give an order. Political parties were flouting it. And at the end of the day, it will even cause them more damage. Because we have seen instances in the past where court will say, suspend this process. Perhaps the process of trying to get a candidate primary of an election. And the party will go ahead with it. And the party may have won election in the general election. And somebody will now go back to the court to ask the court to invalidate or, yes, to render null and void the candidate that met through that process. So I think the politicians are learning in a hard way. Because for him to say he's complying with the court order and stepping aside to pave way for a chairman that is in acting capacity, I think is the right thing to do. As to my opinion with respect to his own perspective, whether the ward ESCO have right to suspend him or not is no longer relevant, because there's a court order that compels him to stop parading himself as the national chairman of the party and is bound by the constitution to comply.
All right, now we'll be looking at more interesting issues, of course, that has to do with the Naira policy, and of course, vis-a-vis how CBN intends to monitor banks with regards to the target set out by the CBN, and that will be right after this timer. Please don't go nowhere.